From the bedroom strangler to the mad bomber, you are about to witness some of Canada's most dangerous serial killers as we dive inside their terrifying crimes and look at where they are today. Welcome to the top 10 most dangerous people in Canada. Don't forget to throw a like on the video if you enjoy the ongoing crime series, and comment down below if you think I missed anybody. Number 10. Gilbert Paul Jordan. Former barber Jordan is thought to have begun his serial killing rampage in 1965 and would find women in bars, buy them drinks, pay them for sex and encourage them to drink with him. When the women had passed out from a night of drinking, Gilbert would then drown them using the same alcohol they had been drinking. Police recorded the deaths as alcohol poisoning, which made Jordan a very difficult killer to catch, and it is thought he may have drunk with over 200 women per year, with many surviving the attacks. On October 12, 1987, police began surveillance on Jordan after Vanessa Lee Buckner was found on the floor of a Niagara hotel after a night of drinking with him. On 4 different occasions during the investigation, police would rescue 4 different women from Jordan's attempted murders, which involved money for dares to finish drinks quickly. After finally being arrested, Gilbert Jordan was arrested, charged and found guilty and sentenced to 15 years, reduced to 9 years on appeal. After release, he was re-arrested in 2002 for breach of probation and because he was found drinking in the presence of a woman. After a further 15 months in jail, he was again released with strict conditions and a warning for women not to approach him. He was acquitted of further charges in 2004, having been identified as being party to binge drinking sessions in Winnipeg, but he died in 2006. Number 9. Peter Woodcock. Diagnosed psychopath and adopted child whom lived in numerous foster homes as an infant, his original name was changed to David Michael Kruger while behind bars. Bullied by his peers, he would travel to parts of Toronto by foot, bicycle or train and attack children of various ages. As the attacks became more violent, 3 children were eventually fatally wounded and Woodcock was locked up in a psychiatric facility. Most of the treatments failed and he would go on to murder a fellow psychiatric patient in 1991, eventually earning the nickname the serial killer they couldn't cure. He convinced inmates that he had contact with an imaginary gang called the Brotherhood, and along with Ottawa killer Bruce Hamill, he attacked Brockville inmate Dennis Kerr. Kruger died of natural causes while incarcerated at the Oak Ridge Division of the Penetanguishene Mental Health Centre on his 71st birthday. Number 8. Cody Lee Bokov. One of Canada's youngest convicted serial killers, Lee Bokov became well known for the Highway of Tears murders that occurred between 2009 and 2010. His victims included 15-year-old Lauren Dawn Leslie, who Lee Bokov met online, Cynthia Frances Mars, Natasha Lynn Montgomery, and Jill Stacy Stuchenko. Lee Bokov attacked his victims along the 719-kilometre road between Prince George and Prince Rupert in British Columbia, with many of them working in the sex trade at the time of their deaths. He was caught after being pulled over during a traffic stop while speeding, when police found the bloody implements in the back of his truck that he'd used to carry out the crimes. Lee Bokov was convicted on 4 counts of first-degree murder on September 11th, 2014 and sentenced to life in prison with no parole for 25 years. The judge who sentenced Lee Bokov said that he should never be allowed to walk among society again, and also added him to the Canadian Sex Offenders Registry for life. Lee Bokov had an appeal turned down in 2016 and currently serves his sentence at the Warkworth Institution in Trent Hills, Ontario. Number 7. Paul Bernardo. Nicknamed the Scarborough Rapist and the Schoolgirl Killer, Bernardo, along with his former wife Carla Homolka, initially initially attacked over 19 women between 1987 and 1990. He was interviewed by Toronto police detectives in July 1990, yet they failed to match him to the crimes and he was not charged. After his job as an accountant, he began smuggling cigarettes across the nearby Canada-United States border, where he met Homolka. His murderous ways commenced not long after, and it was Homolka's 1-year-old sister Tammy who became the first victim. After Tammy's death was ruled accidental, the couple moved on to the next unsuspecting victim, Leslie Mahaffey, who was abducted while locked outside her house, and she was killed after her blindfold fell off. Finally, in 1992, Kirsten French was kidnapped while walking home from school. However, this time multiple people saw the abduction take place. Police formed the Green Ribbon Task Force to investigate the murders of Mahaffey and French, and 26 months after Bernardo had submitted a DNA sample, it came back as a match. He was arrested on February 17, 1993, after Homolka had confessed to the murders of her aunt and uncle, while both of them were under 24-hour surveillance. Bernardo was tried for the murders of French and Mahaffey in 1995, and Homolka gave evidence in exchange for a 12-year prison sentence. Bernardo was convicted of a number of offences, including the 2 first-degree murders and 2 aggravated sexual assaults, and sentenced to life in prison without parole for at least 25 years. He was designated as a dangerous offender and has moved through several prisons, including Kingston Penitentiary, the Millhaven Institution, and his latest residence, the MacArthur Institution. Number 6. Michael Wayne McGrae. Growing up in a troubled environment, McGrae's early life was marked by instability and violence, factors that likely contributed to his severe criminal behaviour. McGrae's confirmed killing spree began in 1985, and he was diagnosed with severe personality disorders, including antisocial personality disorder and psychopathy. McGrae's first known victim was 17-year-old hitchhiker Elizabeth Gale Tucker, with his murderous spree later resulting in the deaths of Joan Hicks and her 11-year-old daughter Nina. In 1998, McGrae attacked and killed Mark Gibbons, a truck driver whom he had a trivial dispute with, and this murder led to his arrest. McGrae received multiple life sentences for his crimes, with no possibility of parole, yet his confessions to additional murders have not all been verified, and he remains a suspect in several unsolved cases. Despite being considered highly dangerous, he was sometimes held in less secure facilities, and this resulted in the murder of cellmate Jeremy Phillips at the Mountain Institution in British Columbia. Number 5. Bruce MacArthur. Targeting men, mainly of whom were associated with Toronto's gay village, Bruce MacArthur's crime spree began on October 31st, 2001, when he attacked model Mark Henderson in his apartment. He then began a murder spree that shocked police, with his modus operandi including MacArthur luring his victims through dating apps and social networks. Once he gained their trust, he would invite them to his home before attacking them and using his job as a landscaper to cover up the crimes. Disappearance of men in Toronto's gay village led to the formation of Project Houston in 2012 and later Project Prism in 2017, with one murder victim, Andrew Kinsman, eventually leading police to MacArthur. MacArthur was arrested on January 18, 2018, and during a search of his apartment, police found evidence that included photos of his crimes. MacArthur was charged with and pleaded guilty to 8 counts of first-degree murder, and in February 2019, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with no possibility of parole for 25 years, where he will be 91 years old. Number 4. Elizabeth Wetlaufer. Committing a series of crimes between 2007 and 2016, primarily targeting elderly patients in her care, former nurse Wetlaufer had anything but her patients' best interests at heart. Graduating from Conestoga College with a nursing degree in 1995, she began working in various healthcare facilities, including Carasant Care, a long-term care home in Woodstock. Her first murder occurred in 2007 when she injected James Silcox, an 84-year-old resident at Carasant Care nursing home, with a fatal dose of insulin. Over the next 9 years, she killed 7 more elderly patients and attempted to kill another 6 patients through similar means. In September 2016, Wetleman checked herself into a psychiatric hospital and confessed her crimes to staff, leading to her arrest on October 25th, 2016. Wetleman was charged with 8 counts of first-degree murder, 4 counts of attempted murder and 2 counts of aggravated assault. She waived her right to a preliminary hearing and pled guilty to all charges on the 1st of June 2017, later sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole for 25 years. Currently held at an unspecified facility in Montreal, due to medical reasons, Wetleman will be eligible for parole in 2041. Number 3. Clifford Olson. Olson had a long history of criminal activity starting in his teenage years, including theft, burglary and sexual assault. His killing spree began in November 1980, where he targeted children and young adults, abducting and attacking them with his known victims, aged between 9 and 18 years old. Arrested on August 12, 1981, on suspicion of attempting to abduct 2 girls, Olson was soon charged with the murder of Judy Kozma, whom he attacked on July 9, 1981. After his murder charge, he confessed to a further 10 murders in exchange for 10,000 Canadian dollars for each victim, to be paid into a trust fund for his wife Joan and then infant son Clifford III. He was handed 11 concurrent life sentences to be served in Canada's super maximum security special handling unit in Quebec. One member of Parliament in Canada even introduced a private member's bill in the House of Commons calling for Olson's execution. He has so far made 3 attempts at parole, with every one being denied and the trial judge stating that he would never be released. Number 2. Yves Trudeau. Known as Apache and the Mad Bomber, Trudeau was the Hells Angels' leading assassin and a major participant in the multiple biker conflicts throughout Canadian history. This Canadian outlaw biker, gangster and contract killer was often frustrated by cocaine addiction and often had suspicions that his fellow gang members wanted him dead. Standing 5'6", weighing 135 pounds and clean shaven with short hair, Trudeau did not look like the average Canadian prototypical biker, but he is considered to be the Hells Angels' most prolific killer. The Irish-Canadian West End gang, who controlled the port of Montreal and thus the importation of drugs into Quebec, frequently made use of Trudeau's services to liquidate their rivals. He attacked and killed Jean-Marc Deninger in May 1985 after the biker gang took his motorcycle and $46,000 in cash, only offering it back in return for 2 assassinations. Knowing that the gang had taken out a $50,000 bounty on his head, Trudeau turned police informant and government witness. He pleaded guilty to 43 counts of manslaughter in 1985, with 29 of his victims being killed from gunshot wounds and another 10 from bombs. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with eligibility for parole in 7 years thanks to a controversial contract with the government. Under his deal, the government also gave him $40,000 over the next 4 years and about $35 a week for cigarettes. Trudeau was granted parole in 1994 and given a new identity, and worked as an orderly in a nursing home and as a bus driver for the handicapped. He returned to prison in 2004 after slipping back into his cocaine addiction and died from bone marrow cancer in 2008. Number 1. Robert Pickton. One of Canada's most infamous serial killers, Robert Pickton worked on his family's pig farm, which later became the site of his horrific crimes. Believed to have begun his killing spree in the early 1990s, targeting vulnerable women from Vancouver's downtown east side, many of his victims were sex workers or struggled with addiction. Luring the victims to his farm with the promises of money or drugs, he would then murder them, disposing of the remains around the property, and he initially went unnoticed. On February the 6th, 2002, police executed a search warrant for illegal firearms at Pickton's farms and discovered personal items belonging to missing women. Further investigation and a subsequent search of the farm uncovered human remains and DNA evidence linking Pickton to numerous victims. Pickton was charged with first-degree murders of 26 women, though he later claimed to have killed over 49, and is His trial began on the 30th of January 2006. On December 9th, 2007, Pickton was convicted of 6 counts of second-degree murder, receiving a life sentence with no possibility of parole for 25 years, the maximum sentence under Canadian law. The Pickton case led to a public inquiry which resulted in the Forsaken report, outlining systemic issues and recommending improvements in police procedures and support for marginalised communities. After a substantial forensic investigation, Pickton's farm was eventually demolished, and his crimes have been described among the most disturbing in Canadian history. Thanks for watching this video on the top 10 most dangerous people in Canada. If you look to the right, YouTube is recommending another video for you because they think you might like it. So go ahead and check it out right now. Thanks for watching.